Can you hear me? Wow, what an audience! Thank you so much for this warm welcoming. I came from Mexico City. I am really excited to be here with you and having this amazing auditorium filled with energy and obviously young people. I cannot see that much, but I've told that there was going to be mostly young people, so I hope I don't offend anyone. So thank you every single person at the MaD team that helped me get here. It has been an amazing journey. I've only been here for 24 hours, and I've been loving Hong Kong since I've arrived. So I'm Clorinda ROMO. I'm an architect interested in cities and citizens' inventiveness, and I was invited here to talk to you about this venture. So it is a well-known fact that the world is becoming more urban by the minute. In 2030, 6 out of 10 people on Earth will be city dwellers. This great urban shift, particularly in emerging countries such as Mexico, where I come from, will bring radical environmental, technological, social, and cultural transformations that will affect definitely our everyday lives and will demand innovative responses. So the question is this. Sorry about this. How can we catalyze creative solutions to these urban complexities? I was invited here to share our experience as a creative think tank that just got into government 4 years ago. But first, I would like to share with you a bit more about my city. How many of the people in the audience have been to Mexico City? Is there? Okay, there's a couple. Well, not that much. So Mexico City is the third most populated city in the world. It has around 22 million inhabitants. What is amazing about this is that half of our population is under age 30. But what is interesting about this is that half of them are working in the informal economy. All that has to do with creative industries had to do with informal economy mostly. So Mexico City is home to an incredible diversity of people and cultures, but it is also divided by class and hindered by infrastructural deficiencies as well as environmental problems. We have 7.6 million passengers per day in our metro system, so it's getting a lot crowded. Although the extended territory allows us to be the third city with most museums in the world, Mexico City is so large that it's difficult to provide the critical service at a require an appropriate space. So since the scale is so wide, we do not have like basic services as we need them. So is within this context, like so rapidly, that in 2013, the recently elected mayor of the city decided to give the opportunity to a group of citizens to create an innovation area for the city. So here's what I come to share with you. Laboratorio for their city, or Laboratorio para la Ciudad, which is the name in Spanish, is experimental office for civic innovation and urban creativity. It is the first city government department of its kind in Latin America. So what is the lab for the city? For us, it's a space for rethinking, reimagining, and reinventing the way citizens and government can work together towards a more open, more livable, and a more imaginative city. So this is the key, I think. The lab is conformed by a young multidisciplinary team, mostly without prior government experience. So we are now these creative bureaucrats that they were telling about in the inaugurational speech. We're the unusual bunch. We're architects, technologists, editors, art historians, political scientists, journalists, urban planners, filmmakers, sociologists, designers, urban psychologists, you name it. The one thing we all share is our impatient optimism, a passion for the city, and the belief that possible change can be born within government. So this is one of our main questions. How do we reconnect citizens and its citizens through government? This is the question that drives our work at the lab. We approach it not only as a matter of delivering better services or defining and offering new channels for engagement, but truly reimagining the role of government and how it can contribute to building better cities, and also to regain the citizens' trust. This is the main objective. So, what if government was not just a regulator, but a true catalyzer for change? What if government went beyond administration, promoting innovation, and even possibly channeling imagination? So we have these two main arms in which we work with. The Lab Civic Innovation Experiments seek to improve government services and make government more open, more responsive, more receptive to citizen participation and feedback. So here at the lab, we set and test new channels for engagement. As you can see in the picture, these channels can come in various formats, like a 24-hour coding marathon, well known as hackathons in this picture, in which we invite citizens to help build and develop technological solutions with data provided by the city. We also test how to crowdsource solutions, how to really collaborate with the citizens in this. So I want to share with you Mapathon, which is a mapping marathon in which we asked citizens to help us map the routes of one of the largest, informal, and most complex transportation systems in the city. So as we are now in a governmental area, we work in different levels in a very transversal way with different departments of the city. So working with the mobility department, we realized and detected the absence of the data routes of this transportation system. And with the help of digital entrepreneurs, we developed an app that allowed the riders on this transport system called peceros, as we call them, to share this GPS data into a database, effectively mapping the routes as they rode. We thought that creating a series of incentives might encourage people to participate in a more active way. So we decided to do this mapping marathon, a competition, like a city game. If you were able to map a certain amount of rides with the app, you will be able to get a prize. Prices vary on the amount of rides and routes you'll be able to map in the shorter time. So we think this through, and it was like by incentivizing participation that we can now see the lines in this map. These lines are the map routes that were put together with the help of 3,594 people that signed in for the challenge. As I mentioned, we knew the Ministry of Mobility didn't have this information at all. So for us, in terms of digital participation, Mapathon is one of the most successful programs at the lab, in which we tested how to incentivize participation by creating a gamification project that also allowed people to help generate something valuable for the city, to become part of the solution. But it also allowed the city government to have the information they needed in order to make strategic mobility plans, obviously based on evidence. This, for us, this data is now evidence. We also tend to address pressing issues. And last year, just recently, the mayor of a city started a new venture. He proposed to have a brand new state political constitution for the city. So we started to think and how we could gather like all the imaginaries of the people that weren't going to be able to redact the constitution. So we offered the mayor of the city a platform in which we enable millions, the participation of millions of voices and opinions, and this is how we could get them integrated in a larger discussion and creating this new constitution for the city. So in this way, we also were able to recollect different urban imaginaries for the city and translate them into the new laws for the city. And I don't know if you had the same discussion that some other cities in the world, But do you remember the conversation about how to regulate Uber in the cities? So Mexico City was the first city to create in 2015 a public and digital debate between civil society, government, and Uber. This was to help analyze how this type of services will work at a city level. So social pressure, as you can see through all media, as well as demonstrations in the city, were turning a little violent. So the Lab for the City proposed to have a public debate and a series of working sessions, as this one, in which civil society, government, and Uber would sit down to determine what type of regulation these innovative services, as Uber or as Airbnb, should have. And now Mexico City has a law for these matters. We also want to think government as an attractor of talent, a motor for innovation, a space for opportunity, and civic entrepreneurship. So how do we tap the imaginative minds of 22 million people? It's a difficult task. So we see urban creativity, the other acts of the Laboratory for the City, as a way of revealing the city to itself by highlighting often overlooked aspects and underused resources. When we become familiar with our environment, we also become numb to the many things that make it special. So our urban creativity projects allow people to see their city and their place in the city with new eyes. So this is Peatoniños, pedestrian kids in English. So it's a project that, for us, the lab, is a perfect example of what urban creativity means. In Peatoniños, we analyze the role of kids, mobility, and playfulness in the city. For this project, we developed a tool to better read the city by creating an urban spatial analysis with which we find different information layers. First of all, we can see where is the largest amount of kids concentrated in the city. We can also see where are the most marginalized zones located in the city. And we can also read where the green or open spaces are located in the city. So it's kids plus marginalized zones plus green open spaces. Is all the data is provided by this spatial analysis spatial tool. So with these factors, we can pick a street to intervene in the city and prototype how a play street can work in this context. So if you, I want to just highlight this, like Mapathon is a large-scale project, it's a prototype project. But this Peatoniños is a very small scale, so this is how we engage citizens in multiple scales with their city. So, returning to Peatoniños, when we choose a city after reading this tons of information in the urban spatial analysis tool, then we socialize and immerse in the neighborhood just to see if the mapped information we had gathered by this tool is accurate. This is a very important step. Then we develop a community-centered design strategy and analyze in territory where are the successful and learning factors of creating this play street as a public urban policy tool, and also looking to strengthen the community's engagement. Then we go back after testing this and prototyping the play street with the neighbors. We go back to the office, obviously, have a discussion session with the actors involved, let's say government, academia, and organized civil society, and we draft the public policy recommendations, taking into consideration the right to the city code. For us, it's super important to take into account this. As David Harvey says, the right to the city is far more than the individual liberty to access urban resources. It is the right to change ourselves by changing the city. So as you can see, the laboratory thinks, but it also does. I've shown you just a glimpse of what we are doing or what the lab is doing intentionally to leave you with a little bit of curiosity. So the lab proposes design as a tool for behavioral change. A laboratory is a community of learning and practice, a space to propose, test, challenge, and refine new approaches, ideas, and hypotheses, a space to probe unfamiliar territories, to risk, to always take lessons even from the so-called failed approaches, but constantly learning. For us, Laboratory for the City, Mexico City is more than our context. It is our creative proving ground. Mexico City is a space that inspires us and provokes us, that shapes our views and our roles. It is a space where we find and incubate good ideas, a place of endless possibility, bursting with potential. I think, personally, that Mexico City is what makes the lab unique. We also, as a laboratory, want to overcome stereotypes and help the city fulfill its own capacity for invention. We want to reconnect the creative energies of this megalopolis and its 22 million inhabitants in order to inject good ideas into the sister system, and also, by this, give Mexico City a new narrative, not just for approval, but also for hope and trust again. So, I just invite you to give yourselves a chance to observe your city with new lenses. Maybe by this, and with some curiosity, you might be able to question yourselves. What can you bring, if you can bring your talent and your imagination to the city in order to increase the quality of life in this city that you call home? Thank you very much for letting me share with this.